right, Nico, tell us a little bit about the show and about how you're looking at the Ballon d'Or, because that's kind of been a huge debate among the football world, and we're using data to figure out who should be the winner. So take us through.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, I think football emotions run high a lot of the time, and with numbers, sometimes they could tell a different story. Even your own opinion can be shaped by what you feel, what you see, and the numbers might tell a different story. So we're going to go do a deep dive into the Ballon d'Or. That's this Monday, and obviously, the betting favorite by a country mile is Ousmane Dembélé because of the goals that he put up, the trophies that he won. PSG won absolutely everything, and so forth. These are your players. But what we want to do in this segment is compare a couple of these players to Ousmane Dembélé. So if you will, let's take a look at the numbers that he put up. 53 matches, 39 starts, and he got really hot January going forward. 35 goals, 14 assists. Ousmane Dembélé was a critical component to why PSG was so successful. But let's go and compare Ousmane Dembélé to a guy like Raphinha, for example. I think there was a lot of talk about Barcelona's Raphinha because they had a really deep run in Champions League, but also in La Liga and Copa del Rey, winning those trophies, being the main guy. So take a look at this graphic. Raphinha beats Dembélé in every single category. Even in the Sofascore rating, which is a number compiled based on hundreds of data points throughout the entire game. It's an average rating of the entire season in all competitions. So it's pretty incredible when you look at Raphinha against Ousmane Dembélé. He's missing the Champions League, right? He fell short in the semifinals, and sometimes collective awards are heavy in this tournament. But if you're going by the individual statistics and the numbers, Raphinha beats Dembélé in every single category.
Yeah, this is so intriguing. I think back to the start of the season, and we were talking about this on Morning Footy. This is astounding. 23 assists blows my mind. And I just think of players who transform teams and clubs. Last season, for me, Raphinha was that guy for Barcelona.
Yeah.
I know everyone wants to get into Lamine Yamal in the second half of the season, but up until that international break in March, those assists, those goals blew my mind, Nico.
Talk about goals and assists in a Champions League season. It's a record tied with only Cristiano Ronaldo. So even in the Champions League, the tournament that Dembélé won, Raphinha was having a hand.
More games though, no?
Without a doubt, more games. Cristiano Ronaldo did it in less games in that season. Regardless, it's still pretty impressive, right? It would be, in theory, 2 more games because they played the 8 in that first phase, whereas Cristiano played 6 in that season, and Cristiano made it all the way to the final in that year. All right, moving it on over. Lamine Yamal is the other guy in question. Lamine Yamal, when we compare it number for numbers, no, he's not better than Ousmane Dembélé in the categories that we saw for Raphinha that bested Dembélé. But this is a guy that passes the eye test, for example. Talk about feeling, talk about emotion. Dribbles completed, 200, like almost 100 more than anybody else from the Ballon d'Or nominees. And when you talk about feeling, right? Who's the guy that gets you up from your chair and gets you excited?
100%.
I think this is a category where he bests the rest of the competition. This is something that this guy delivered on. And obviously from here, he had goals and assists, not at the level of Raphinha or Dembélé, but he also contributed.
Of course, you can look at the numbers, but when you just watch him play, he's the most talented player. Like, he's the guy that you just said gets you off your seat. I remember the semifinal against Inter. My jaw dropped just watching him perform. Like, that's just a total footballer. You said it, the eye test. The eye test, nothing can tell me that it should not, for me, Ballon d'Or would go to Lamine Yamal just because of that he's the best player.
Right? I feel like he gives you that same feeling that Messi back in the day gave you when he had that crazy play and you're just instant natural reaction. Oh my gosh, right? I think there are very few players in the world that constantly give you that emotion. All right. Now let's compare it to somebody else, Mohamed Salah. Mohamed Salah didn't win the Champions League, lost to PSG, but they won the Premier League in significant style. And when you consider all competitions, he also beats Ousmane Dembélé in every single category, right? Except in the Sofascore rating. Perhaps Ousmane Dembélé has a Sofascore rating, but in less games played, right? Mohamed Salah was gravitating important, influential in every single game that Liverpool played. You check out the goal contributions in a single EPL season, and he's up there with the most goals and assists together. I find few arguments against a season like Mohamed Salah to not consider him as one of the favorites, or even better, more influential than Ousmane Dembélé. I do think a big knock is Liverpool losing in the round of 16 to the eventual champions PSG, because you do need to consider collective awards as well when choosing a Ballon d'Or.
Clearly, and that was the moment, right, where he kind of fell out of that Ballon d'Or favorites, or top two, I would say. He had a fantastic season last year. Without Mohamed Salah last year, Liverpool don't even come close to sniffing the Premier League title.
Right.
And in the Champions League, yeah, they didn't have that same success, and that's what dropped them off. Looking at all of this, though, I do find it interesting that we're putting Dembélé as the favorite because he won the Champions League, because they won the treble. He was a fantastic season, incredible season. But the numbers tell you that maybe it should be Raphinha. Maybe it could be a Salah, who had a better season as far as statistics are concerned. But trophies clearly play a huge part in winning this award.
So if trophies do play a very important and heavy part in deciding the Ballon d'Or, let me entertain you guys for just 1 second. I was just in Morocco. In Morocco, they are convinced, obviously, that the best player in the world is Achraf Hakimi, that he deserves a Ballon d'Or. But maybe you say it's a patriotism thing, right? It's a nationalism thing. It's we want the Moroccan to win the Ballon d'Or. There was a Moroccan on PSG. But let's dive into the numbers of Achraf Hakimi and dissect whether he genuinely deserves a Ballon d'Or shout, because I genuinely think he does. Look at him compared to the top 5 fullbacks in the world, top 5 leagues, right? But the average is the smaller number. He blows every single category out of the water by far. So, best defender on one side of the ball and on the other side of the ball. But sure, he's a fullback, but he's also a very complete player. And we go to the next set of statistics, it shows you that Hakimi is more than just a regular fullback. He has influence on both sides of the pitches. So on both sides of the pitch. So might we see the next slide? Here we go. He has more than 45 interceptions, successful dribbles, shots, tackles, key passes. The only player across all competitions in 24-25 season to do this.
But nobody votes for this.
Yeah.
Well, it's so hard for people to vote for a defender for some reason, even though when you actually watch, you see how important Hakimi is.
So who was the last Italian Ballon d'Or winner?
Well, and also the last defender.
Yeah.
It's Fabio Cannavaro, which was
a defender.
Seemed impossible. And if he didn't win it, it would have been Buffon, a goalkeeper.
Sorry, I go back just to the last point, right? Talk about accolades and performance in big games. He played a lot of tournaments. This number.
They calculate that?
This number is the Sofascore rating.
Wow.
They calculate in big games.
No, that doesn't count. Any game is
What's the top one over there?
This is the Olympics.
Wow.
Oh,
This is the Olympics. This is AFCON. No, this is.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Then there's Ligue 1, Champions League, Coupe de France, and Club World Cup. In the big games, this is his rating. Again, Sofascore rating is hundreds of data points that are updated throughout the game. It doesn't matter if it's a final. It doesn't matter if it's a friendly. It's all valued the same. And then you get this rating compiled. He performed well in every single tournament that he played. So it's maybe unlike Dembélé, that probably only was hot from January to now, extremely hot enough that he is probably the front runner for the Ballon d'Or. This guy was consistent throughout the season. What do you guys think for this Moroccan Ballon d'Or winner?
I love it. Yeah. I would go for even Vitinho is another guy that I would shout out. I don't think it always has to be the guy that scores the goals and is that brilliant. PSG won. I think without Hakimi, it would be hard for PSG to have won the Champions League.
Yeah, without a doubt. What this will do, and all these data points will do, will just add another layer of where we don't know exactly where the Ballon d'Or is going to go, because we have the data here, but the eye tests and all of these other things that kind of go into it really do leave it up for debate.
At least there's no bias, though, in the numbers.
Right. I mean, for the Sofascore Awards at the end of last season, Hakimi won it over Dembélé. Dembélé didn't play enough to be considered for the award, but even if he would have played enough,
I like that.
He wouldn't have gotten the award.
Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you tune in.